कल मम्मी मम्मी अद्धा घंटा रुक सकते हैं नहीं वो मीटिंग है साडी Hi Shery.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Hi there.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. Let me just, we need to move this way. I have literally just moved, so.
This is Sacramento office?
It's my home office.
Okay, good.
Nice to see you again.
Yeah, remember we met many years ago, right?
I remember you. Actually, I think we've seen each other recently as well, because I have more of a familiar feeling. Like you and I must have crossed paths even sooner than that.
Mm.
Unless it's the fact that I've just seen a lot of you online. Hi, Nancy.
Hello, Shery.
How are you?
Finally meet up face to face.
You know, you've been so lovely. Thank you.
And you look lovely. Let me put my glasses on, get a better look.
You're
gorgeous.
You really, but you've been, I went through a little bit of a crisis on what I wanted to do with this.
Are we on live yet, Alka?
Yeah, we are on live. We are
okay, just to let her know.
Oh, we are on live now already?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and you were amazing, so thank you.
Why, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, the formal introduction, you are live with us on Global Women Powers page, and people do appreciate and see what we do. So this series is called Sheroes. You know, people, women, those who stood up like heroes and set up an example in spite of whatever they were going on with their own life or their career. You know? Yeah. So there are ways to there are ways to bring change in society. One is you know, by educating people, and one is by setting a good example. So you're one of them. You did set a good example.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I didn't have much of a choice. It was either fold or move forward, and I'm not the folding type, so moving forward it was.
You're the kind of people we want and we need. So.
Well, I think with what's going on in today's climate, there's going to be a lot more people stepping up. You know, a lot of change makers out there right now that want to be part of positive change, that have passions, different causes that they're really wanting to focus on. So I think it's really important that we all support each other, and whatever that pocket of passion is, you know, help give each other a lift.
Well, I like that statement at the end of your bio. It says, I can't change the whole world, but I can change one at a time.
Yep.
That's how it's done.
You know, I knew that what I was hoping to take on was large scale, and I didn't know what was going to happen with it. I really didn't. When I started the organization, I didn't even know too many people in Fremont. I wasn't politically inclined here. And, you know, so I was starting from a blank canvas. And in some ways, I think that was a blessing, but like everything else, you know, that had its drawbacks, but you just keep on keeping. So, yeah.
So what you have been doing, I commend you for it. It's awesome. The Drivers for Survivors. And yes, how you've been helping, it can't be a one-man show, and it needs a supporting group. So I would like to explore how Global Women Power can somehow integrate what we are to your cause. But anyway, let's go on with the interview.
Well, I don't know at this point, due to a few things, and the pandemic being the main reason, we're actually dissolving the nonprofit. So we're in the middle of a dissolution. It's very sad. I think there's a lot of people grieving out there, and you know, it's something that I've been working on 10 years, and my goal was actually to build chapters. So the fact of the matter is that I was super close to getting to that point, and we were working on implementation. But then we lost this big grant as well. And, you know, in a way, it was probably a blessing in disguise, because if we'd gotten the grant, we would have started a process, you know, wetting certain things. And then the pandemic would have hit and exposures would have been even higher. So, you know, everything happens for a reason. And, you know, I know that with the right strength, I mean, there is the possibility of resurrecting something like this. I'm, you know, inclined to think that there is. But right now in this environment, as it stands, it's very difficult. We in November gave the second, in the existence of DFS, gave the second lowest number of rides that we've ever given. And that's in 8 years, because I was working on the project 10 years, but the operation was 8 going on 9 years. So, you know, everything happens for a reason. And, you know, we have this track record now. We know it works. We were unblemished. I'm super proud of that. I mean, you know, all of these volunteers, you know, have stepped up, and, you know, we have 600 different patients that we've helped, and 300 volunteer drivers have supported us. And if you tally up board members and all the other contributors, you're looking at about at least 500 volunteers, you know, interns, all of it, that help support the program. So there was 100% a backing for this program. There were challenges, to say the least. There were challenges. Being a female founder makes it a little challenging. The percentage for female founders is quite low. I don't know if you've had an opportunity to explore that, but if I remember correctly, back when I researched that, I think it was 7%. You know, you need to be very thick-skinned, and you have to break through some of the barriers, and that can be a little daunting. And I shed more than a few tears, but you focus on the goal, and you focus on, you know, the positive things, and you try to have takeaways from those experiences, and they make you stronger. I could have done without some of them, but but at the end of the day, I have to admit, they did make me stronger.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't know how we started from the ending of a nonprofit, but I wanted to go from the beginning.
Yep. Okay.
Yes, share with us, you know, how did this idea come, and then what it took for you to start, and how the journey went.
Okay, so I was going through treatment, and I, you know, was startled by my own experience. I mean, they had originally told me I had 6 months to live untreated. So that in itself was huge. And then as I was going through the process, I was very mindful of the experience, and I was watching other people go through chemos and radiation and all ages. And you see some people getting the support, you see some people not. And there was, statistically, I was following, I'd asked them to give me some of their numbers, and I got an annual report, and I compared it to some older annual reports. And to me, it looked as if cancer was on the rise. I don't know if I just became hypersensitive to it. I was hearing about animals getting increased amount of cancer. And I felt like I needed to get involved and kind of make a difference. So I used to interview women and ask them about their experience, and ask them to share with me different pieces of that. And then I went on to building a business plan that could help support the cancer patients, but not just in the linear way with a ride. I wanted the support to be also friendship, because I had been new in town. And for me, I was looking at it from my own experience, but I was also watching so many people alone. And I thought, you know, this is not something that you should be isolated with. You need to have hope. You need to have support. So I just began this journey for a year of building my contact list of different people. And I made it a point to sit down with anybody that would listen to me. And each time I sat with somebody, I'd ask them to give me a couple of names of somebody else I could sit with. Now, this meant I came across so many people, I didn't even know who I was talking to sometimes. And that had its positives and it has, you know, its negatives. It's, again, it's a double-edged thing. But I will tell you, one of my main contacts that I ran across, and again, I didn't understand the depth of that meeting at the time, was Sean Fong, who is the part of the city of Fremont, and she leads the paratransit program. And I have to tell you, they now do something called Fremont Ride-On Tri-City, and we're referring now our patients to them. But she is amazing. And so she gave me a to-do list of things as well. So I had a lot of people suggesting things to me, just a lot of information. And for a matter of fact, I came across my old folder because I had to close up the offices, and I found my notes from the beginning. I'm gonna get emotional. And it was like chicken scratch, you know, it's like all these thoughts and all these things that were running through my mind, and pages and pages of this stuff. At any rate, so I would sit down with people, and Sean Fong gave me the laundry list. And I remember one day we'd met at Sweet Tomatoes. And I remember her kind of leaning into me, and she goes, by golly, Shery, I believe you're going to actually pull this off. Do you know how many people try to do something like this, and you're actually going to do it? You're actually on your way. And I remember, like, at that point, she was brilliant. She is brilliant. So I was literally, you know, my heart was exploding. I was so proud and happy and excited, because getting that blessing really meant the world. And that woman is full of integrity. So I mean, she deserves global power. Honestly, you might want to look at her next. I mean, she's amazing. And then, you know, I met Suzanne Shinfill also, and different people within the city. So really my goal, to be honest with you, was to tie the program within the city, because I wanted it to have that kind of integrity. I've always protected the integrity of the organization. And you have to know, in order to do that, you have to understand what's the goal for the person that's getting involved. You know, what do they want? What is their kind of reason for getting involved? And then you try to position it so everybody is able to have a give, right? And at any rate, so back to the beginnings, had the meetings, got critiqued on the business plan, had different people give me their stories. And I noticed that, because obviously when you're getting to know somebody, you want to introduce yourself. And so I explained to them what I'd been through. And it was interesting, because at first you get that look, the big eyes of, who is this woman? Where did she come from? I don't know. I haven't run across her in my dealings. And then they start to understand, and you can see it processing in their mind, that they're putting it together. Wow, okay. And some people are maybe a little too good to be true kind of thing. You know, they lean back and then they're like, okay. And then you get the other ones who want to, like, I want to be involved. And then the most fascinating thing happened, like, continuously, people started to want to share their stories. So there was so many stories. I have goosebumps right now. There was so many stories of people who had these experiences, life-changing experiences, and they said repeatedly, what a great idea. What a great idea. I love this idea. So then Jan Vincent, who was one of my original door openers, because I have people classified: door openers, door closers, gatekeepers. You know, she was my door opener. And she just relentlessly gave me people's information. I felt kind of bad, because I'd call someone blindly, thanks to Jan. Sorry, Jan. Well, it's a good thing though. And you know, I was able to get support and meet these community members and get their assessment. So once I got past that point, I called SCORE and I asked them to look over my business plan. These are retired business people who I wanted to get their sense about it. So Jan sent me to Scott Haggerty's office, Supervisor Scott Haggerty's office. And I went in, never having done these are a lot of firsts. I'd never done any of this stuff before. I walked into his office and I pitched him my idea. And it's actually funny that I just said pitched, because Rotary said, Shery, would you pitch your story to somebody? And I remember saying in front of Rotary in the beginning, when they asked me to speak, I was offended by the word pitch, because I said, well, this isn't really a sales thing. It's my life story and I'm trying to build something. But anyway, I digress. So I went in, I talked to Scott Haggerty, and he sat there, and you know, he's kind of he's he's funny, first of all. He's very smart, very funny. And he kind of leaned back and he gave me a run for my money, I'll say. You know, I didn't know if I was going to get it or not right away. But as it turned out, he did give us our original seed money. And so did the city of Fremont. They covered the payroll side of it in the beginning, a certain percentage, which I didn't know at the time that would be a difficult thing. I thought that just would be like normal. Payroll comes with you're doing the work. But they had the foresight. I didn't, because they had the experience. So they gave me legs. They gave the organization legs. We were very modest. We started off very small. And then I ran across Lily Mae before she was mayor. So we're still friends. We're great friends because we share a spirit of, we're two women who always go out, we're everywhere. And we'd see each other all the time. It was like, hi, you know. And the first time I saw her, she was a supervisor at a school with, I always confuse it with the musician, Jim Morrison, you know who I'm talking about, Dr. Jim Morris, I think it is. He used to be the supervisor of Fremont School District. I apologize if I'm butchering his last name, but I remember being at a science fair with my daughter. And again, this is the beginning year. And Lily Mae I didn't know who she was. She was standing there with the supervisor, the school supervisor. And I came up to both of them and I said, you know, my daughter's here for a science fair and I'm trying to launch this nonprofit. Do you mind if I stand on these benches and talk to these parents? Now, I know that was, looking back on it now, was outrageous. I mean, this was a school fair. And they said yes. And I was only directing my attention for some reason to him. And Lily stepped in and she looked at me and she goes, you know, I can help you too. I really get involved in nonprofits. And I said, I'm so sorry, I didn't realize. And then I directed my attention to both of them and I realized what I had done. And anyhow, we became fast and furious friends from that point forward, and she was always present. So we had different people involved. Sue Chan was a huge lifter as well, another door opener. You know, there's been a lot of people who have come from different places. Right now, I have a phenomenal a chair. His name is Eric Holland. Sorry, I'm fast forwarding, but he's a huge lifter. So you have these people. Kim Marshall, she used to work for the city of Fremont. She would have helped me with the next chapter. So she was my pick to become the director, because my goal was to be more on the lines of fundraising and helping the different chapters talk to one another. So I was wanting to be a liaison. That was my end game had I been able to build the chapters. So anyway, yeah, the first year was very rich with experience. There was some, you know, people that made it difficult. I call it Queen Bee syndrome. But again, you know, you have to appreciate everybody who, whether it's a negative experience or a positive experience, because I do truly believe every single person deeply cared. And that was evident. And actually, after having come out of a year and a half of extreme cancer treatment, seeing the fact that so many people from the depth of their heart really did care was something I needed to see. I needed to see the engagement. I needed to see the renewment of human spirit. I needed to see people standing up for this. You know, I mean, it's so impactful. I have stacks. I can't get rid of them. I don't know what to do. I have stacks of thank you letters from clients. And now with this dissolution, sorry, I'm skipping ahead, Dr. Alka, sorry, but
It's okay. It's okay.
I've got now in my emails, letters of gratitude. I don't actually know where to put all this emotion, you know. It's a lot of emotion. And then because of all this, I'm having some life changes to support my daughter. And so we're making some changes, and I made a move, but it's not very far, but I made a move. And the first thing one of the local churches said to me was, are you going to start one here? I couldn't believe it. It was like the first thing when they learned what I did, the first thing they did was ask me that. You never know with me. Maybe I might, but right now, probably not. But it's during downtime like this, meaning it's not downtime, but I hope you take it in the context of how I mean it. It's a good time to have conversations. But I'm not sure. I need a breath. Because this has been a big year for everybody. Yeah. So there's my year story.
You know, what I like the most is the emotional part, because one cannot do it without emotions.
Well, it's funny you brought that up because I asked one of my, so I've had two great staff members that are standouts, Daisy Lai and Lillian Lewin. And Daisy Lai and Lillian Lewin have been rocks. And I asked Lillian, I told her about this interview, and I said, what do you like about working for me? I wanted to know. And she said that she liked the freedom and the power that I've given her and Daisy. Like I treat them as peers, and they are peers, and they deserve it. And then I said, what do you not like about working for me? And she went silent. And I said, you got to say something. It's okay. So she didn't want to say anything. And I said, well, I'll tell you what I think it is. I kind of guessed. I said, I think it's because I'm an emotional person. And with that comes the presentations, comes being able to share. I love writing. I'm going to write a book. The emotion drives me and was the power that's my God-given gift. But it also can work against me, because if I get my feelings hurt, or, I feel really strongly about something, there's a different passion. So I'm just, it can be a good thing or a bad thing. So sometimes it takes me 2 weeks. I've learned if it's something hard hitting, it takes me 2 weeks cooling down period. Well, guess who gets to hear it? They do. So, but anyhow, that has been the experience with all this, is the emotion has been a driver. And for many people, there's a lot of emotion on this topic. People die. I could have died. There's, when people die, there's emotion. We're human beings.
Tell me about your book, and when do you think it'll be out for the public?
I'm so excited. Well, I don't even have I don't have a deal or anything like that. This is just something I'm going to start, but I do have a friend who wants to help commission it or champion it. But I do want to talk about my experiences. Originally, the conversation, I've been wanting to write a book about DFS, building of DFS, and it was going to be different. This has changed the whole context of the book I want to write, and I'm thankful I never wrote the other book, because I don't want a self-serving book. I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for a book, and I have the title. I'm kind of afraid to give it because I don't want someone to steal it, but I love the title. Anyhow,
Don't give it.
Okay, I won't. But it's about, the book is going to now be about, obviously, the emotion of why I started, some of which I shared here. But I also want to talk about some of the underlying factors, and not in a finger pointing way, but in a way that can help create change, because there are some disconnects and they're unnecessary. And I really want to shine some light on those disconnects, but I also want to shine light on so many of the positive things too. There's just a lot to talk about, and how that experience went. And I think for people, for number one, for women who are in business, I think they might find it helpful. For people in the nonprofit world, for sure. And for people who are looking for inspiration, a lot of this is inspire driven, and we all need hope, right? So I think that this book will talk about things that I think need to be talked about.
What message do you have for women today?
It's hard to be if you're a strong woman, it's hard to be a strong woman. I think that stereotype continues. I wish that wasn't there. I wish it was okay to just be a strong woman. Don't lose your voice, and that is something that I think, I'll be out of school to say this, but I think women do it to each other. Some of the most difficult people that I've dealt with have been other women, but yet, as I say that, some of the most amazing helpers have been women. So it's very fascinating, right? But if you have a woman on your side, it's like having an army. When we support and care about each other, we can build each other up. But I would say, don't be a queen bee. It's not pretty. It's not a good look. And, it doesn't help anybody. and hold on to your own. It was tough sometimes. I think because I was new in the area, I didn't want anyone not to like me, you know, and so it was kind of hard when I had to make a hard stance a couple of times. That was tough, you know, but you have to dig deep, and you have to soul search, and really, if it's something that is part of your vision and something's in the way to the point where it's not allowing you to move forward, you have to deal with it.
Yes.
And the interesting thing is, the higher you go, the less people you have to talk to. I mean, that's another thing. I wanted to create a support group of executives. And when I say executives, I say that loosely because I'm a self-made woman. I'm going to share something with you that is going to surprise you and probably a lot of people. I don't have a degree. I don't have a degree. I'm a person, I went to a lot of colleges. Do you know I don't even know where my transcripts are? I just took classes on a whim. I took a ton of classes. I have to go back, and I'm actually thinking about going back and getting my AA now. So this is something I'm considering as well, but I happen to have a gift for certain things. I'm not saying that I know everything, which is why you have to have a powerful team. Mm-hmm. So then I also want to speak to men as well. So you asked me the question about what I would say to other women, but I also want to say something to other men because I've had very strong male supporters as well. Mm. Very strong. My background light went off, so if it dimmed, if the light changed, guys, I can't do anything about it. Okay. So I want to thank the men who treated me as their equal and who really wanted to support and help push this concept further. And you know, I really appreciate that. And I really appreciate the people who got truly invested, where it wasn't just for show, where it truly was something that they wanted to push forward in legit ways, which happened a lot. And, you know, with women, I tell you, we just need to stick together. I know it sounds cliche because you hear that over the years. I mean, I've read books about women power. I've talked, you know, all kinds of things. The reason I didn't start the women networking group is because I found that they might have started politically. And that's not what I wanted. I didn't want that. Right. I wanted a group of women who you could talk. There was no gossip allowed. Mm-hmm. You could share something that happened to you with the purpose of having a resolution, but it wasn't about alienating anyone. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it takes a special group to be able to pull that off. And I came very close to doing that, but I kind of stopped because I didn't feel like it was going to 100% go in the direction that I imagined. And then I just sort of veered in a different direction. But I love that concept of women rallying with each other.
So the way you are talking, you know, I was just feeling it is hard to keep track with you because you are so full of it.
You know, I do have a very active brain. Sorry if I jump around, but sometimes things connect to other things. And yeah, that is true about me.
So what I wanted to add to that, you know, if you're not full of it, you can't push it through, right?
What's that?
The way you pushed it through.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, because
yes.
of this only. Because
yeah,
you're so
I understand you now.
Yeah.
You know,
so people those who couldn't keep track with you, they just move out of it, and people those who can, they walk along.
That's right. I'm a very fast mental processor. Right. It is true, very fast. And that used to get in the way when I was a younger person. I had dyslexia. I used to write backwards.
Wow.
And so I had to go to a special school for a year to correct that. But I've gone through my own struggles. You know, it's genetic with us. Mm-hmm. And my daughter has her own set of circumstances, and I get to teach her. And now I'm the one saying, you need to get a degree. And my daughter wants to go and she's very gifted visually. She wants to go into the beauty industry. Mm-hmm. So she went to a special school in Hollywood for a couple of summers, a cinema camp. And so anyhow, you can take these challenges that you have and you can turn them into positives. And it's just a matter of learning how to harness it and energetically trying to figure out how to create that balancing act. And yes, you can create magic with it. Once you understand what to do with it and you don't fault yourself for it, then you can move mountains. So yeah, I'm definitely all over the place sometimes, but but I see it as in a good way.
Yes,
And then
it is
sometimes,
good.
like Daisy, I do best around other people who are very calm.
Mm.
That's why Daisy and Lillian were such good right hand, left hand women, because they, I would walk into the office and they would have that calmness. And then I could go into my office and shut my door and they would hear me raising money, or they would hear me having very intense conversations or whatnot. So I give them so much gratitude for putting up with me. They were and are. Lillian's still with me to the bitter end. She's staying till the end. They are absolute, forces on their own.
Right. So I have met many people, that's my good luck, and I see knowledge and wisdom, difference in both of them, right? You
Yes,
start with knowledge and then you end with wisdom.
that's the great thing about getting older.
So that's how I see you, and I want to keep this in your mind, that there are so many people there who do not know the mechanics of running a nonprofit and how to push it through. You can be a good counselor or advisor or somebody like that.
I've thought about that, having kind of a website put up and doing some consultancy. I would enjoy that very much. I will just say this, nonprofit is definitely not easy. And being a founder is not easy. You say, please, thank you, and I'm sorry, more than anything in your vocabulary. And when you're a small staff, which because we were in transportation, you have to stay lean. When you're a small staff, it can make it very, very challenging. So it is a tough gig. You really have to care. And if you don't, you won't be successful at it, period, end of story. But if you do care and you decide you want to do a nonprofit, then you should do it. And you go out there and you just be seen. There's no invitations that are coming your way. You may not get a lot of invites or respect or all those things in the beginning, because it's about tenacity, and it's about showing over time the consistency and the desire. And then you'll get people who will start gaining force with you and you'll build traction. But I called with Sean Fong. I said at one point, I go, well, I think we're a mid-sized organization at this point. Now, this was a couple of years ago, and I'll never forget her. She kind of chuckled and she goes, this isn't mid-sized. You guys are still babies. And I said, are we? It's been so long. And she goes, for transportation? No, you're babies. So there is so much to learn, and you just insert yourself and you find out who's like-minded, and you try to understand the others, and you get your voice out there, and you speak from your heart. I'm very genuine. A lot of the things I had to do scripts because I have a little anxiety. So I would do scripts to start, and then I would feel my anxiety kind of fade. And then I would start looking up and just yakking away, and then you couldn't shut me up. So you do have a process that you have to go through as a person who's starting to develop it. And a lot of it comes from within as well. It's not just about building the nonprofit, you're building yourself too. So it's a really fascinating line of work, but it's also something that you can't go into with high expectations. You just can't. It's about giving. It's not about taking. For matter of fact, you might even lose a lot, so you have to be okay with that.
So I was also going through some content written by somebody, and I read definition called founder syndrome.
Yes.
And I thought, oh my God, it applies to me. And then I just started delegating everything.
So I've probably been accused of that. I have a couple of different takes on that though. So I do believe it exists, and it's something you do have to be careful of. But on the topic of delegation, again, and I will stand by this in my case to the end, I only would delegate to the right people. So if I wasn't comfortable, or if there was something that didn't feel right, then I might hold on to it. But there is a time where you need to pass the baton. And actually, that was what I was preparing for prior to the pandemic. I wasn't going to make a big to-do about it. It was just going to happen. That's where Kim Marshall came in, who would have done part-time. I was going to have her as the director for the Oakland area. And I'd already hired an outreach person. I was going to make Lillian and Daisy the the directors rather of the Tri-City area, and then I was going to become the director, and then I was going to do my thing on that level and do the liaison stuff. So that was it took me all that time. Had it have happened being on the cusp, it would have happened right about now. And I don't know if I would call that founderitis. If you're not ready, you're not ready. And if you're not seeing the right contenders, then you're not seeing the right contenders. So, but maybe were there moments where I could have reflected more and given something up? Probably. I guess I'm a little bit of a control freak, but I do think founderitis exists, and I'm more than sure that there's a few times that's probably been uttered, but you know,
because you fall in love with your idea and you have seen it growing. It's just
you
like
want to protect it.
Yeah, you want to protect it.
If it's the right people, and I had people coming along and they were lifting, I like people that come in and lift. They don't take, they lift. They come in and they say, listen, I want to add in this way. But when it comes in and someone, and this did happen, someone told me not to be seen and heard so much. It was a very surprising statement. And, I don't find things like that helpful. So it's like when you have people who come in and you click with them and they want to make these additions, that's great. But when it becomes kind of a negative takeaway and you're feeling a lot of this power shift where you're feeling it's uncomfortable, I think that's something you have to look at and really understand it. So it's complicated that way when you're a founder, and again, when you're a female and when you're trying to build something really big. I think you also have to use your wisdom in making your decisions, but you need to be careful with the founderitis for sure. I mean, that's a real thing.
So most of the time, the question I was asked when I asked people to join me, like, what is in it for me?
Yeah, and in nonprofit, it's not like that. It's the best people that I've met are the ones that have come up to me and have said, how can I help? Put me where you need me. Like, that's what Kim Marshall's done. And Barbara O'Leary, who's a friend who used to be my driver, she's been in every role within the organization because she said, I just want to help the organization. How can I help this be successful? And so sometimes I'll call her and I'll say, we have an emergency. Can you do this for a little while? And she'd go, okay, no problem. And when you get people like that who come in and just want to fill the holes, and then sometimes, you start here and it grows because the trust grows and the impact grows. And that's, I guess you could call it promotions, nonprofit, but that's when you're elevating people. You want to elevate them. You're looking at the work they're doing and you want to shine light on them. And it's an incredibly fulfilling feeling to bring other people up and rise them and I get to say quite often, if I can do it, you can do it, and I can give them 10 reasons. I can say, because of this, I had all these things working against me, but I did it, which means you can do it. That's powerful, Yeah.
Because, then I found the answer. I said, life in general as a whole has no profit in the end, right?
No, it doesn't. You can't bring it with you.
Yeah, you come empty-handed, you go empty-handed.
No.
So what you carry with you is your feeling, what you
Yeah.
said, the incredible feeling you have, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is the carry forward.
That is the carry forward. And that goes generationally. So you maybe break cycles, which is exciting to do. That's part of, if I were to be completely transparent, that's part of what I wanted to do as well, is I was breaking cycles. I mean, there's a lot of personal behind this. It's professional, but it's personal too. It's very personal. And I wanted to be the best person I could be. I went through like a period of time when I heard I had 6 months to live, potentially untreated, but all you hear is that, okay, trust me, you walk out of the doctor's, all you're hearing is, I may die in 6 months. And I did reevaluate my life. And I honestly felt like I had not lived to my full capacity, and that really bothered me. It really bothered me. So there was the determination. There's a lot of different drivers that can take a person. And even like in Rotary, a lot of the Rotarians that I've met, the stories that they share, like when you have these firesides and they start sharing their stories, a lot of successful people have big stories, a lot of them. When you take the time to talk to these untouchables, so to speak, they have reasons that they've risen from the ashes in their world. And some of them is just like gut wrenching. So, you know, you just have to take, it doesn't matter where you're coming from. It doesn't matter. You can take all of that and you can energetically choose positive. You choose optimism. You suffer from depression. You wake up in the morning and you say, I'm going to be happy today. You choose happiness, because a lot of what happens in our lives is a choice. And people, when that clicks, when it clicks that everything you do is a choice, and that there isn't an invitation, there's no one waiting to say, hey, I'm going to roll a red carpet out for you. It's all about what you've got to do it. And once you have those realizations, you actually owned your personal power. Do we have moments still where we wake up and feel more fragile? I get migraines. On a migraine day, I'm not a happy camper. You know, I have a pill for it. I take it. I put some water on my face and I move forward. You know, I mean, we all have things that pull us back, but you have to just kind of push through it and keep going. And that's, I think, the secret to success is relationships, fortitude, integrity, love, true love for these things, caring about other people, you know, and sometimes doing hard things, doing the responsible thing is not always easy, you know, and that's kind of where we were at crossroads with DFS at this point, because, it was hard. I almost did not do this interview because I didn't want to be disrespectful to the grieving process of DFS. And that's the truth. You can ask Nancy. But at the end of the day, I think the message is more powerful. And I hope that people understand that.
So if you have to give yourself a degree, what degree will you give to yourself?
You know, I still love writing. I really love writing, and I do love business. I still want to consider the answer to that question a little bit longer. I'm not sure yet, but I do want to pursue my writing more. And my mom, she's not with us anymore, but that was her desire, was to see me become a writer. She really pushed that. And it's funny because she ended up writing her own book. And when I asked her, I said, I didn't know that you were going to write a book. And she goes, well, you wouldn't, so I did it. Exactly what she said to me. You wouldn't, so I did it. So yeah, I'd like to, even though she's not physically here, I know she's here. And I know that by doing that, that would make her really, really happy.
Great. So anything we can do for you, Global Women Power, or?
No, you've already done it. You've given me a voice. You guys have given me this proper exit from, although it's probably not the last you'll hear of me, but it's a proper exit. And I really like that. I like that you guys honored me and allowing me to speak and pay tribute to all the people who have helped. I know there's some names I didn't mention. Jan Vincent I mentioned, Barbara I mentioned. There's just too many people to count, but that means a lot to me. I'm all about like ritual in a way. So you've made me very happy today, just by allowing me to talk to your viewers, and hopefully people will be inspired in some way from these words, because they're from the heart. And I do wish so much success for all of the achievers. And for those of you who are just trying to fight your way through it, you can do it. Because again, if I can, you can. So those are my last parting words.
I'm convinced you have a lot more ahead of you and a lot more people that you will reach out to or inspire. So
you will not stop. I am 100% sure.
I'm going to take a breath, as I call it. I'm going to take a breath. I'm going to finish. I've got closure here, and then I'm taking a breath, and then, I'm going to be mindful. But yeah, I don't feel like I'm done either. So we'll see what happens.
Journey continues.
To be continued.
So this is Shery Higgs.
Thank you.
We're speaking with, and we thank you so much for this time. It really means a lot to us.
You got us involved completely, 100%. Hope to see you soon again.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.